Richard, I'll start with you. Trading obviously looks very good, initially up about 10% this morning. What does success look like long-term for a company like this?
Success is creating, the world's first space company, and it is the first space company to float on the stock exchange, and it's the first commercial space company to send 5 people into space. So we've had an extraordinary few months, and next year I'll be going to space, and we'll be starting to send a lot of people to space. Anyway, we're extremely happy and pleased the way the day's gone.
Talk to me about becoming a public company, because it seems like an industry that perhaps should be private. There's going to be a lot of scrutiny, I guess, about what you guys are doing. And it just seems like it's always going to be one accident, one crash away from oblivion. So what was the logic to becoming a public company?
Well, we spent 15 years developing the company as a private company. And there came a stage where we felt, let's involve the public, let's involve institutions, and to help us on to the final stage. And what's been gratifying is that many of the biggest institutions in the world have been to the spaceport, have been to Mojave, they've seen the spaceships, the way that rockets are built, and they feel comfortable, I think, with the job that our team have done over the last 15 years. And I think the other thing, which I think George can talk to, is just how safe our spaceship company is in the way it's been built. Do you want to touch on that, George?
Sure. I mean, what's exciting is that we've been flight testing these vehicles for now nearly 10 years, and we believe that we have an architecture that is extremely reliable and also has aspects that are very suited to the customer experience. For example, taking off from a runway, landing on a runway. Those are things that I think will have a very nice smooth start and ending to the customer experience. And then our rocket motor is actually the simplest and thus safest, we think, human-rated rocket motor for our class of rocketry. So for all these reasons, we feel really good about the system.
And the rocket can turn off, which at a second's notice, which is the I suspect the biggest key to the safety.
George, just coming back to the issue of, look, I understand why celestial travel gets all the buzz. It's very exciting and new, but surely there are good commercial applications for this here on Earth. How much of the company will be focused on that, providing, as it were, like hypersonic travel between cities?
Well, the exciting thing right now is obviously the commercial space is a massive business right now. So it's over $375 billion annually now, growing to an expected total of around $1.5 trillion. And so this is really, as Richard says, the first time that people can invest in a pure play commercial spaceflight company, which is incredible. Now, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be focused, first of all, on building out this terrific high margin business with human spaceflight customers operating from Spaceport America in New Mexico. But what's exciting is that we can build towards even bigger markets, such as hypersonic point-to-point travel, which is a $300 billion per year TAM, which is very exciting. So we have a very exciting near-term and far-term future here.
And Richard, you've been in this race for a long time, obviously now competing against some other big names, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk among them. What's the first mover advantage here?
Well, I think we have the advantage of having already put people into space, and we've made 5 new astronauts. There haven't been any others made on American soil since 2009. So we have a tested and tried system that is performing well, and we're building, using the money that we've raised today, we can build a lot more spaceships and motherships and a lot more rockets, and we can build the numbers of people who are able to go into space.
And what does a typical customer for this business look like?
Sorry.
No, you.
Well, we just have a wide range. There's some folks who are really inspired by the Apollo program or space in general. There are other people who want to do the next big adventure. There are some people who are interested in the perspective change that they'll get from going up into space that people talk about. And then there's some people, honestly, who just love the Virgin brand and Richard, and we welcome them all. People do it for different kinds of reasons, and we think that there's just a tremendously big market out there. You go to talk to people, and 3/4, 8 out of 10 people actually want to go to space if they can afford it. So there's a huge latent market.
But talk to me about that, because the price point is going to be important here.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the price point initially is, a fair amount of money. But keep in mind, the only other way to go to space right now is to buy a ticket with the Russians, and they're charging about $85 million to NASA. So it's a dramatic price decrease. Now, obviously, long term, our hope is to go down. In the near term, actually, the price will probably go up a bit because we realize that it's actually underpriced. But long term, I think, Richard, and my vision is to bring that cost down so that more and more people can experience the wonder and joy of human spaceflight.
Richard, last question for you. As I say, you've been at this game for a while. Something that's going on in our home country, Brexit, right now seems to be dragging on and on and on as well. What do you think is going to happen first? Will you get tourists into space, or will the UK successfully leave the European Union?
I very much hope that we'll have tourists in space many years before we even consider leaving the European Union. I think my thoughts have been well publicized. I think it's the saddest thing that's ever happened to Britain and Europe. And I'm just hoping that another referendum will be allowed. Because if you look at all the polls, it shows that I think people have realized that they were misled, and they would vote overwhelmingly to stay as part of the European Union.